someone who hasn't like followed you on social media or videos, and they're like, what is this rehab thing?
Yeah.
And am I a rehabber? Should I read this book?
Yeah.
Like, how do you explain how you came up with rehab, and then how this book really is a lot for that community, but also for others? Because I read the book, and it's so powerful and inspiring.
Thank you, brother.
And I'm reading it, and I know you, and then I'm like, oh, I'm taking notes. I'm like, oh wait, I'm taking notes on Trent stuff. It was so cool. What is it for those people who do know rehab and those who don't that you think they're going to get out of the book?
Well, everybody, if we're honest, right, has something that you can rehab. And I think the word rehab has over time having like a negative connotation. It means, oh, I'm on drugs, or no, everybody has something you can rehab. And the word rehab for me came from sports. You know, when you get hurt, you know, you have an injury, what do? You go to rehab.
Yeah.
And you put strength back into that weakness. And the thing that I tell people is that the powerful thing about that is that, I know definitely in sports, if you do rehab sucks, first of all. You know,
right.
You know, it's a long process.
Painful,
you want to come back.
slow.
And there's times where I played sports where, you know, I got hurt, but I came back too quick and I was out for the season. And that's so relevant to life, because whether it's relationships, right? Somebody gets their heart broke and then they try to get back into another relationship without rehabbing. And what happens? They might hate everybody after that.
Yeah.
And so it's for anybody that wants to turn that pain into their strength. But I would tell them also, you know, in the rehab process, I break it down into 3 levels, right? So you have a reality. And reality is simply that, like the quote that I use for reality is that you'll never win your war by running from your battle. So many of us try to hide from our reality, right? We don't want to face our truth for whatever reason. And so I'm really pushing you and challenging you, like, listen, I know it sucks to face this truth, but you'll never get to the other side unless you face it. The second part of rehab, this is my whole process, is release. And there's things in your life that cannot go with you. You know, there's habits, as you talk about so great, that you need to change. Those poor habits that didn't serve you. Maybe it's people in your life, right, that you outgrown or is not good for you. So what are the bridges? I talk about it as bridges. What are the bridges in your life that need to be burned? You have to release those things. And the third part, which is probably the most important part, is the repair process. Like, what do I need in my life now? Is it a mentor? Is it a coach? Or I talk about protecting your peace. Is it a routine? Like, what do I need in my life? Better friends in my life now to repair my life so I could be the greatest me consistently.
I love that. I think a lot of people are going to relate with your protect the peace thing, because there's so much chaos and like vitriol and like hate and anger that they see every day. Like, what does protect the peace mean to you? Like, how do you explain it?
It's tough, man. Protecting your peace for me, like, means me out in nature, right? I love to hike. I mean, you're a Portland guy, so you know how that is, right?
Outside.
I always say inside the trails is like nothing else exists. So the best way I can put it is, it's disconnecting from the world and reconnecting with your soul, whatever that looks like. So some people protect their peace by a book. Some people protect their peace by meditation. You know, it's really getting away from the world to recharge your life.
So good. In your book, you talk a lot about purpose.
Yeah.
And I think you probably get a lot of DMs. I do too. It's like, I don't know my passion. I don't know my purpose. What do I do? And people who are actually motivated or driven to grow, but they're like, I don't know what my purpose is. How do you advise people like that? And what does the book say about that?
Yeah, so I take a different stance on the book, you know, and I don't know if everybody's gonna agree with it, but I think it's something that I realized, like, you know, we're always taught to find our purpose. And I just feel like purpose is not something you find in the world. It's like, where are we looking for it at? Like, who has it? Does the guy down the street have my purpose? And so I've been telling people, and I realize this with my life, purpose is who you are. Like, you are purpose. And I think when you opt, because you're basically telling yourself that now I'm enough. Most people, if we get down to the root issue of any pain, is I'm not feeling like I'm enough, so I have to change who I am. So you are purpose. I think what you're searching for is placement, is the avenue on how my life could be used effectively. And there's so many different ways. You know, I say a lot of times it's tied to your past. You know, it's the things that you went through that makes you an expert. You know, you can tell people how to get through it because you've been through it. So you see somebody who, you know, my mom has cancer right now, you know, and somebody who's been through cancer now, you know, wants to be an advocate for cancer and to help people get through that process. Or somebody like myself that lost a dream, their identity, now wants to help people find their true identity, whatever that may be. Yeah. And so it's tied to your past. It's tied to your power too. You know, like, what is it that makes you feel alive? You know, my purpose, like the avenue for it, speaking speaking was my biggest fear. I'm an introverted person by nature, you know?
I know, yeah.
And so
people don't believe that about you or me.
They
I'm
don't.
Like, I've written
They
6
don't.
books. I've hung out with you. We can be pretty chill. And we're good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's like, where do you feel most alive at? You know, and where can your life be used most effectively? And that's like a surrender thing. Like, you got to let go of sometimes what you want to do, because what you want, like, if I could have it my way back in the day, I would be a rapper somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
But this is what I was called to do. And so when I started to change I am purpose, I realized that I can take myself anywhere. It doesn't matter if I'm a speaker. It doesn't matter if I'm an author. If I know my principles, I know where I was created, then I can take my life anywhere and be effective. Because at the end of the day, my definition of purpose would be using your life to create betterment in this world. I feel like however that is, you can do it.
Love that, love that. You're also in helping people find that, and as you talked about earlier, like repairing, you talk, one of my favorite chapters, I don't know if I told you, was the chapter on forgiveness.
Yeah, yeah.
Because people struggle with forgiveness. People don't want to talk about forgiveness because they know they have to go there, but they don't want to go there. So what's your approach to that, and why do you, like, I mean, making it a whole chapter in the book is...
Yeah, forgiveness is tough. I mean,
so hard.
You know, just being transparent, there's probably some people I need to fully forgive, you know, in my life that I don't know if I fully have. But what helped me gain leverage with forgiveness in my life is realizing, like, I asked myself this question. Well, this statement, you can move on from the person or situation, right? But without forgiveness, you'll never move on from the pain. People ask, like, what does that mean? Well, you'll see somebody that is operating a certain way because somebody hurt them, and they're treating somebody that way that doesn't deserve it. So it's like making somebody pay for a mistake they didn't make.
Yeah, it's carryover pain almost.
There you go, exactly. So that was the first thing. I was like, I don't want to make people, like, I don't want to not trust people because this person hurt me, you know? So I had to have my own experience with a new person and give them my trust. So that's one thing. The second thing is, you know, from a selfish standpoint, like, I don't want this person to control my life. Like, our situation, like, if you don't forgive, this person literally has controlled your past. They're controlling probably your present. They'll control your future. And you're living with, you know, something that happened 10 years ago, and you're still operating a certain type of way because of this person. So you got to let it go.
A lot of power.
Exactly.
A lot of power.
A lot of power over your life. And the third thing is that you've been forgiven. So it's like, you can't expect not to give what you've been given, you know, especially with my faith. I mean, you know, God forgives, you know, and I know I needed forgiveness from people. So why can't I give that to somebody else?
Love that. You talk about championship mindset.
Yeah.
This is one reason I love the book, is because you go in so many directions.
Yeah.
It's like a user manual for, like, life. Because
Yeah.
some people, the greatest you, they'll talk about one thing, their potential, or one thing, you know, their attitude, or one thing, like me, habits. But you, like, this is like a tour de force book for,
It's like my
their
brain
life.
too, man.
I love it.
That's the hardest thing for me to, like, just stay here, because there's just so much, you know, to rehab that I want to talk about.
Yeah, I love it. So championship mindset, which obviously you know from sports.
Yeah, for sure.
But often too, I mean, you're taking these huge stages and just smashing it. So you must have a certain mindset that allows you to win with your behavior, or, you know, really excel. So how do you think about that championship mindset?
Yeah, so that concept came from watching, you know, Peyton Manning. You know, I got a chance to be with him for a year, and just studying him, like, I took those 5 traits from him. You know, the way he operated, because, you know, you see the Tom Brady's, the Peyton Mannings of the world, the Michael Jordans, Kobe Bryant, you're thinking, like, you know, they just was born that way. Absolutely not. Like, as you know, high performers, right? Like, they put in the work. And what amazed me about Peyton was that he would stay in the summertime when most superstars would be in Miami. They don't come to OTAs, they're not required. He would be there in the summertime working with a guy like me. And I asked him one day, I was like, why are you up here? He's like, well, if somebody gets hurt and you're in here, I want to have chemistry. Like, that's how much he cared. And so it's 5 traits. One is commitment, and, you know, staying loyal to what you said you were going to do long after what you said has left you. So, you know, a lot of people are excited. A lot of people are driven by emotions. You know, they don't have emotional resilience, meaning that, you know, when their emotions are high, they're great. But when their emotions are low, they stray away from those commitments, you know. And then the second is discipline. And I just say discipline is simply this: get good at saying no to the things that don't get you a yes. So for me, it was a lifestyle for me that I loved. And that's the thing about discipline, is not saying no to the things that are easy to say no to. It's not discipline. You just don't like it. But it was the lifestyle that I loved. Going out, it was, you know, sleep, just all the things that I loved that I realized I had to let go of if I wanted to get to the life I wanted to live.
That's the hardest thing, is
that's
letting go of,
hard.
like, letting go of behavior that you actually enjoy so you can enjoy the next level of success. Like, what's something you had to give up for that? Because when you're, I mean, that discipline is what most people struggle with, I've found, and I really resonated with the way you talked about it in the book, so.
Yeah, well, one was just the lifestyle. Like, at that point, I loved to party. I mean, I actually had an entertainment company. People don't know, it's called Shelly World Entertainment. And, you know, we would throw events, you know, bring people in here, and, you know, it was fun. I'm gonna be honest, it was a fun time. But I remember just going back, like, you know, to the hotel room, and just like, the next morning, just felt empty. I wasn't feeling fulfilled. And so I was like, this is not gonna get me to where I need to go. Like, I gotta let go of this. And I talk about friends a lot. You know, I have a ton of friends who have stuck with me throughout this whole process. But then I had people who were in my life because of the parties, because of football, that I had to let go of. And even some friends, you know, I liked. It wasn't just like a bad ordeal and like, oh, I don't want to mess with you no more. But I was like, man, if I keep hanging around this person, they influence me too much.
Yeah.
So I got to change my influences. So those things were really tough for me.
I bet. So you got commitment, you got discipline.
Yes, the third is consistency. And
That's
I
my
just,
word. That's
yeah,
it.
there you go. Right. And I just like to say consistency is, you know, anchoring your actions in greatness, so daily you produce nothing less than your very best. And when I say very best, you know, I had a video with Tristan, my son, which you know Tristan, but I had a video with him, and I realized, like, I told him, like, give your best. And he started to get disappointed because he felt like he wasn't performing to my expectations. So for one, I told him, listen, like, my expectation, I'm gonna have high expectations of you, but you don't have to live for my expectations or the world expectations. Like, live your truth. And I told him about your best won't always look like high level.
Right.
Like, your best is sometimes just showing up when you don't feel like it.
Yeah, sometimes your best on a Tuesday is different than your best on a Thursday.
There you go.
You know, it can be.
There you go. And so I realized this with consistency. When you're consistent, you become reliable. When you're reliable, you become trustworthy. And I feel like with my career, you know, I don't think I'm the, you know, the best whatever, but I'm been consistent for the last decade in my message, in my purpose, in my life. And so consistency is key. It's like, I mean, when you go eat somewhere, the reason you go to that restaurant is because of their consistency. It doesn't matter how good the food is. I mean, that plays a big part. But if you went there and the food was great one time and it was terrible the next two, it wouldn't be your favorite restaurant. So just be consistent and you'll become a go-to person.
So championship mindset, commitment, discipline, consistency.
Fourth is faith. And faith is just, I like to define faith, believing the odds are beatable even when the odds say it's impossible. Dr. Tony Evans, he says faith is in your feet. And so a lot of people talk faith, you know, but, which is great, but what are your feet saying? Because if you truly believe in what you're praying for, if you truly believe in what you're putting out on social media, your life will reflect it.
You're moving towards it.
You're moving towards it, exactly. And one realization I had to have with myself, you know, I always say live it, breathe it, be it, because that was a message that I had to look in the mirror because I was talking it more than I was living it. And the question I asked myself, I said, if I couldn't say one word, right, what would my life say? You know, if Brendan was around me for 24 hours, you actually talked about this today. Did you say something about like if you dropped in on a parachute in somebody's life?
Yeah, I did.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you parachute in somebody's life
So
and you look at their actual life.
There you go. And so if you came in on a parachute on my life, would my life reflect everything that I put out? And so for me, with faith, is about moving towards that, even though I can't necessarily see it, but I believe in it.
Amazing. That's the fifth.
Fifth is heart. And heart is just finding the strength to give more even when everything else, even yourself, says you have nothing left. I like to call it the marathon mindset. You know, when you tap out, when you feel like you have nothing left to give, you just keep pushing, you keep going. And sometimes heart is all that you have. Sometimes heart is all that you need. So, you know, whether people are giving up on you, or you know, you got no 12 times, or, you know, you keep trying this one thing and it's not happening, somebody just got to tap into your heart. And that why, as we talk about so much in this space, and that reason has to be deep, you know, because that why can carry you through. So is it your kids? Is it your mom, your dad? Is it your supporters? If your why is weak, and I think a weak why is just about yourself. You talked about that today too. Like, if it's just about yourself, you probably will quit. But if it's bigger than you, you'll find a way, right?
What do you say to the people who are like, yeah, I gave my heart to this job or this career or this field or this person, and it got smashed or crushed, or now they're discouraged. I mean, how do you get those folks back? Because that's part of rehab.
Yeah, well, I don't want to seem super positive and negative, but it's like a great thing. It's a learning lesson in that. Like everybody that you see has been through something, right? It's like the foundation for strength is what? It's pain. There's no way you can get stronger if you don't go through something, you know? So I tell people all the time, look at it differently. Say, how did this help me? Like I wouldn't be here. I can 100% guarantee you, I would not be sitting in this seat doing what I do at rehab if I would never have went through football, my lowest time, my rock bottom, and lost all of that. So I could have easily looked at that and said, you know what, my life is over. Or this wasn't fair. But I said, you know what, maybe there's something else. There's more chapters to your life. So don't get stuck on the chapter you're currently in. Just evaluate that chapter, learn from that chapter, and say, how can I use this to move me forward? And I mean, you look at any story that they've been through adversity, they've been through losses, they've been through failure, and that's what makes them successful.
And the story ends in redemption.
Exactly.
You know,
that's the best stories. Nobody will watch a story where it's just like beautiful, right? Like you got to go through like the losses, the ups, and that makes a great story.
It makes a great story, and it makes life. That's life.
There you go.
Yeah, you're so good at that. What is that? You know, one of the things I've always seen about you, the things that really seem to kick off on social media or on videos, definitely in the book, is when you talk about relationships.
Yeah.
Because it's like some of you have people who've been disloyal or broke their heart or something like that, but it's really specific on that intimate relationship, that trust, that loyalty that you talk about. How is it that you feel that you knew how to tell people these things? I mean, what did you have to go through to know?
I've been on both sides.
Yeah,
I've
really,
been on
both sides. Got it.
Both sides of the fence. I mean, in high school, I got my heart broke, you know, and it was hard for me. I mean, that was like, you know, she was my world. My high school sweetheart got my heart broke. And I always use that as an excuse for me to be a jerk. You know, I was like, I'm not gonna give my heart to anybody anymore. And I went through, you know, college and the beginning of my NFL career, you know, being that guy, you know, different women. Even with my story in the book, it says it, you know, I actually, with Maria, you know, I got Maria pregnant while I was in an off and on relationship with another woman. And I saw what that did to everybody, you know, and I was like, man, I'm not this guy. I don't want to be this guy. And it hurt not just me, but it affected so many people. I mean, I could talk about the story for 3 hours. It affected so many people. And I realized that, you know, relationships are everything. And you will see somebody literally that might lose, even from, you know, kids to parents or intimate relationships, they'll lose somebody and they feel like their life is over because their identity is in that.
I've been there too.
You know, their identity is in that. So I just let people know, like, you might have lost that, but your life isn't over. It's gonna suck, but you can heal, you can recover. And if it wasn't for the wrong relationships, I wouldn't have found the right one, which is my marriage. And so I'm big on that.
I love it. If someone gets this book, The Greatest You, and you know, like me, I read it. You gave it to me. I read it in 24.
You did.
Like 36 hours.
You went through it.
I love reading books. What do you think it is on Monday they think differently, or they feel differently, or they do differently? Like, how does it change the life on a Monday? You know, okay, get up. What do I feel or think differently?
I believe that they're gonna take a deeper dive of responsibility. Like, I really feel like, I hate to be cliche, but they're really gonna know, like, it all starts with me. And they're gonna realize that my choices affect my life. And I'm in control of what I accept. And so I'm not gonna complain about things that I'm allowing to take place in my life. And I think they're gonna look in the mirror and say, it's on me. And I think that's what that book really attacks, man, especially that reality chapter. You know, you'll never win your war by running from your battles. Like, that's it. And I want people to get through that. It's gonna be tough, but I want people to get through that and take that full responsibility, because that's where your power is. If you are always blaming and living life like this, right? Even though it might be true, that person, that situation, whatever it may be, still has the power, and they're controlling your life. It's till you say, you know what, it's on me. Even though it might not be your fault, but you're choosing to stay there with your life, it's on me. And I feel like they're gonna feel the power to actually do something with their life, no matter what's happened, no matter what they lost, and really move forward.
The Greatest You by Trent Shelton. Everybody get this book. It's so good. Fired me up enough to fly out to Fort Worth and do this interview with you, brother. I'm so proud of you.
Thanks, Brendan. I appreciate you, brother.
You're the man.
Yes, sir.
So good.